Hello, good game. Welcome back, ghouls and goblins, and thank you so much for taking the time to support the channel. I really do appreciate it. Something special, something I've not done in a very long time. Since Ikoria, Lair of Behemoths. It's a limited breakdown, you guys. We're talking about the limited archetypes, ranking them in a tier list for you guys, also breaking them each down individually in depth so you can see what they consist of. This is very, very important. While you're participating in the draft experience, you need to set yourself up for success right from the get-go. And this involves having an in-depth knowledge base before you open even your first pack. We're also going to talk about the resources I personally use, to accumulate this knowledge base. So all of you can be doing it yourself. You don't have to depend on me, but of course, if you want to, I am totally fine with that as well. Thanks for hanging out. Really appreciate it. So let's kick it off. All right, first up, quick draft. This means that you are picking your cards against bots. You're playing against real people. When you get to pick your cards against bots, it will give you an advantage because the bots suck. They're not human. They don't know what they're doing. They do get updated over time. However, you can definitely take advantage of that as opposed to the premier draft in which we're picking our packs and cards against real people, right? That aren't, inherently brain dead bots that know which archetypes are best, they know which cards are best, and they know what their opponents are picking as well, right? Because sometimes not all colors are an option, as maybe the person in front of you is, hoarding that color. But the bots don't know those things, which is great for people looking to farm the set. Right? Very, very good. So October 1st through 15th, Innistrad Midnight Hunt Quick Draft becomes available. This is just in a couple days, so we're getting the guide out just in time. With this being said, my go-to resource is Sam Black Drafting Archetype. Not only does he have this amazing YouTube channel, which is going to talk about a lot of the things that I will today in depth, but he's also got that limited footage, right? So definitely an authority within the limited scene. Sam's been around for a long time and a super knowledgeable dude. Give him some love. Follow the YouTube channel. I'll have a link in the description below, right? And then, of course, who other than Deathsea, one of the top limited players for years since I started, been killing it, right? We get also an amazing tier list here, talking us through all of the different colors, showing us the cards rated from, S tier all the way through F tier. We also will talk about the color rank, which is really cool, and then going through the mechanics and talking about the rating system for you as well. So this is an amazing resource to, just generally become aware of, right? You'll need to know which cards are good in the format within each color. So when you see them, you identify that and you can take it into your collection for that event, right? So Deathsea's limited tier list, amazing. I'll have Deathsea's website down below as well. And then finally, MTG Arena Assistant. You have to have this, you guys. Absolutely. It will give you card picks with the ratings, draft helper, and it's also going to tell you like the rating, which is cool, and then it will tell you why it's rated. Why does it have this rating? What's good about it? What's bad about it? Which is very, very good to increase your knowledge base, right? With this out of the way, we can jump into the game. Gruel werewolves. We're gonna start at the worst deck and work our way into the best deck. Just so you guys stick around, right? Nobody bails after the first one. So, Gruel werewolves just, it's not that good is the thing. Maybe before we get into why Gruel werewolves isn't good, we should talk about the reason being is that red is absolutely trash, and so is green. So the color combination of the two is super trash. I even think that green is better than red, but Deathsea, is maybe a more authoritative figure than myself, right? And that's why I want to showcase these creators for you guys, because you know, I don't know exactly what's going on in Limited, and I do go to other people to learn as well, right? I may disagree a little bit, but I'm taking multiple opinions, you know, from people who I look up to for my information and combining them for you guys. But anyways, you know, red and green, absolutely trash. Black and white, amazing. Blue in the middle. Great. There's so much good black removal is why. But we're going to talk about that as we go through these decks. Anyways, back to Gruel werewolves. It's not great. If you can get the perfect picks, sure, you've got a fairly decent aggro deck. However, there's just so much good removal in the meta that you're going to have a hard time popping off, right? If you can stack these naturalists, that's going to be your best bet with the deck, right? Just other werewolves you control get +1/+1, which is really, really cool. So getting wide, going tall, and then gaining not only haste, but also trample as well, which is really cool. So the Untamed Pup gives us trample. The Village Watch will give us haste. The Naturalist gives +1/+1, which is really cool. We have a fight effect. We have trample +1/+0, draw a card, which is really cool. And then, you know, artifact enchantment control and, you know, a mana sink as well. So that's Gruel werewolves. It's probably not the best, but it's what you'll have to work with if you're going within the Gruel colors. Next up is Izzet spells at number 9, right? Not good. This is what was explained by Sam as a trap, right? It looks good, but it doesn't have enough support because, again, there's too much removal in the set. A lot of spells here focusing on day and night transformation. One of the main cards is the Brimstone Vandal for 3, a 2/3 with Menace. If it's neither day nor night, it will become day when it enters. And whenever day becomes night or vice versa, it's going to deal 1 damage to each opponent, right? So here's just some consistent chip damage. Plus, it's a 2/3 with Menace, which has, like, you know, that's evasion. So that should be good, right? You can draw cards from your graveyard back to your hand, which is great. And then, you know, just drawing in general through the transfer of day and night is pretty cool as well. And then, you know, just a flyer that's reducing our spells. Sure. Some bounce in deck to make sure we can get in with our menace creature, right? We'll attack. They declare their blocker, or maybe even before they declare the blocker if we don't want the kill on something, right? Depends on the play line. And then a little bit of removal, discard, draw, shut down their blockers, decay, right? So just general value, but it's maybe not as competitive as we need it to be. Into number 8, Rakdos Vampires, right? Red, black. Red, so bad in my opinion, but the black really carries it through here because black is the best. And then, you know, if you do get lucky enough to pull some of these vampires, like the Socialite is really, really good. Hungry for More is an amazing card as well. Both uncommon bombs, basically, going in on your opponent, and then the Ambusher for removal, Grasp for removal, potentially play with fire or defense straight. So lots and lots of removal. Cathartic Pyre in here as well could be damage-based removal, right? So, you know, keeping your attacking lanes open, removing everything your opponent puts on the field, and then just attacking. This is kind of what Gruel should be, but apparently it's in Rakdos. So we're okay with that. And, you know, there's a little bit of flying in here as well, which is really cool. So just consistent damage, right? This is a pretty quick deck. And number 8, because, you know, red still just sucks, and there's better color combinations than red and black, like, well, black and green, getting a little bit better now. Similar deck, well, actually not really. It generates value through tokens and then sacrificing these tokens. Eaten Alive is the sacrifice removal. The Awakener is, you know, sacrifice to get bigger. One of the better cards in the set for black, as far as I'm concerned. A 1-drop, 1/1. We can pay 3, sack a creature, draw a card, then transform it to a 4/4. That seems really, really cool. Similar value within the Death Sprout here. It's a 1/1, 3 or more creatures in your grave, transform it, and then you can exile a card from a graveyard. If it was a creature, put a counter on it. So, you know, 4/4, 5/5, 6/6 for 1 mana, right? That's absolutely insane. So really good mid-range value here through these 1-drops, which is nice. The blue, you basically call it blue removal because that's how good it is. LOL, The green removal is almost non-existent, is what I mean to say. Is return to nature. Just artifact enchantment control. We also have the Liberator for that artifact enchantment control as well. As a creature base, we can control their graveyard with return to nature, which in this format may actually be more relevant than you consider. And then just like ETB effects, like enter the battlefield and leave the battlefield effects are really important. So enter, make token, leave, make token, draw a card, stuff like this. The Strangler, lose life, they sacrifice a permanent. It gets attached to something, which is really cool. So, acting as another form of removal, which is really cool. The Occultist dies, draw a card. Removal through the grasp. The Procession is cool. Whenever a non-token creature we have dies, we get to make that 2/2 with Decay. And then while we're on Decay, this is the first time we've talked about it, the consensus is to not attack with your Decay all the time, but keep those creatures there because they will die, right? They can't defend, I get it, but you can do other things with those creatures, right? You can sacrifice them for other value. Eaten alive is much better to sacrifice a Decay zombie than to have attacked with one and it just die anyways. Or you can build up, go wide, and take lethal, right? Once you do have that position. But to attack with 2 and have 1 blocked every turn is not going to be enough. Let me throw this into full screen here. I should have done that a while ago. LOL. Leave the battlefield, make a zombie, enter the battlefield, make a human token. We can also give +3/+3 and trample, which is really cool here through Coven if we have it. The Opportunist is a really nice draw engine. Dies, create token, enters the battlefield, create token, right? So that enter the battlefield, leave the battlefield, have non-token die. That's where we're making all of these tokens, which is really, really good. And it should be enough value, I think. Again, not the most competitive deck, but we are getting kind of to that halfway point now where we're looking at Simic Flashback number 6. We have a lot of value here if you can get there. It's a little bit flimsy still because there is a ton of removal in the meta. However, the flashback definitely helps this because if it gets removed, you can replay that from the grave through the flashback, and that's kind of where this deck is shining through as opposed to those others that don't have the replayability of those cards, right? And then just the heavy removal meta takes care of it and they're left with nothing. That's why Simic Flashback is a little bit better. It may seem underwhelming, but don't worry. Revolved around the Root Coil Creeper, generating 2 mana to cast things from our grave, right? This is really, really cool. And then the Organ Hoarder can put things into our grave, which is really cool. 3/2, look at the top 3, put 1 into our hand and the rest in the grave, right? So that's an ETB draw. Very, very good. Plus, we like to have things in the grave. Eccentric Farmer as well for 3, a 2/3, and when it enters the battlefield, mill 3 cards. Then you may return a land card from your graveyard to your hand. Flashback stays in the grave. You cast it from the grave at a reduced cost through the Creeper. Groovy. We have tapping the window to search for things like Rise of the Ants, creating 2 3/3 insects. We gain 2 life. Flashback. We're just going to have a field of insects real quick. And then we can tap our opponent's creatures, which is really cool. So a pretty simple deck to play and more competitive than you would typically assume in the meta because of the replayability, like I said, which is really nice. Into Selesnya Coven now. It's all right. It's not bad. Number 5. The Coven makes things very, very nice, and you're going so wide that the single target removal is going to struggle, right? There's not a ton of sweepers, and you can just burn out the single target removal by going, super duper wide. We have the Contortionist. It's a 0/0 entering with X +1/+1 counters on it. This is great because it's viable early game and it's viable mid game and late game as well. Really, really cool. And then at the Coven, 3 power of different creatures, like a 1 power, 2 power, 3 power, 2 power, 3 power, 5 power, whatever it is. There's 3 different. We'll activate Coven. That's just like Pack Tactics, attacking with 6 or more. And at the beginning of your end step, if you control, those 3 creatures, put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature you control. Very, very, very good, in my opinion. We do have the ability to give double strike with the trainer as well. We all love double strike. Great news here. And then I believe the mentor can apply trample as well, right? So the double strike is free. The trample will cost us 6. It's a little bit expensive, but we'll get there. And, you know, then you're getting +3/+3 and double strike. That's going to definitely get the job done there. And then it's things like the farmhand, helping us ramp by grabbing those planes all the time. And the coven here is really cool for the survivability into the Cathar. We have Ritual of Hope. What a card. What good value. Tokens. Oh, no, this is a... that's not the card I'm thinking of. Anyways, Ritual of Hope to put +1/+1 counters on all of our stuff. And then if it's Coven, not counters, but just +1/+1 till the end of turn, and then Coven's a little bit better. I was thinking of that Ritual card for the draw, gain 4 life, make 2 counters. Anyways, that card could definitely go in here as well for the counters. I like that. But we're probably just using Join the Dance instead to create the 2/2s with flashback for the replayability, and then having that ritual to capitalize on going super wide. Also, Coven creatures will control get +1/+0 with the Wardens, which is really cool. So just going as wide as we can, giving things trample, double strike. We do have a fight effect here as well. Plus, we'll get that counter, which is really, really nice. So another fairly basic deck, and the fact that it's able to go really wide, dodge the single target removal, and then have such offensive capabilities through the trample and double strike is really, really nice. So Selesnya Coven in at number 5. Boros aggro, number 4. Here we go. Woo! The farmhand. I can't get over it. You know, this is an amazing card. We have the Pyre for removal, draw, discard, Sacred Fire, doing more of the same with that flashback, which is really nice. Where the deck really comes together is the Sunrise Cavalier, putting +1/+1 counters on creature we control itself, which is amazing. And then we have the Vandal, right? So really focusing on turning it from day to night. We talked about the Vandal in the Izzet deck as well. Whenever it changes from day to night, deal 1 damage to each opponent, and when it enters, it will change it to day, which is great, right? So amazing. We also have the Dawn Guard. If it's neither day nor night as it enters, it will become day. Amazing. It's going to trigger that Cavalier for us, hopefully. And whenever night becomes day or vice versa, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card with mana value 3 or less from among them, put it into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Holy Toledos. That's amazing value, right? Very, very good. Helping us draw more Cavaliers. We have the Silversmith, and when it enters, put a +1/+1 counter on 2 creatures, which is really, really cool. And then the Search Party Captain, 1 less to cast for each attacked creature, and when it enters, draw. Really, really cool stuff, right? So we'll be attacking, reducing it, playing it, drawing, and then it's going to be good to go for the following turns. And then just keeping our attacking lanes open with the Pyre and the Fire. Easy, right? Turn your thing sideways and attack. It's an aggro deck. We love it. A fairly nice, like that Cavalier is really good, and it's within the quick draft going to be readily available a lot. So don't miss out on picking up that Cavalier if you get the option. Next up is Orzhov Sacrifice, number 3. We're getting to the top decks now. This will revolve around Rite of Oblivion. You know, this is the card you're building around if you can find it. As an additional cost to cast the spell, sacrifice a non-land permanent to exile a non-land permanent with flashback, right? So you can cast this a bunch. You can take care of every single bomb your opponent has, no matter what it is. And that's what makes the deck great. We have the Survivor here, which is really cool, which transforms into the Avenger whenever another creature we control dies, right? So we can sacrifice a creature other than it to transform it. And then whenever it attacks, return a creature card with mana value 2 or less from our graveyard to the battlefield, tapped and attacking. Holy! This is really, really good, right? We also have Unruly Mob. Whenever another creature we control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on the mob. We have the Awakener. We talked about this already. It's a 1/1 that turns into a 4/4 removal with Eaten Alive. Talked about this already. The Sunset Revelry. This is what I was mentioning earlier. Gain 4 life, make 2 tokens, draw a card, potentially, right? The Hobbling Zombie dies, create a token, and then the Cathars enters the battlefield, creates a token, right? So enter the battlefield value, leave the battlefield value that comes along with the card itself, right? So you're getting double value. Think of it this way. Things that we could add into the deck if we do get it. The Morbid Opportunist, right? It's not in here for some reason, but you guys know what it is. It's my favorite card. Whenever one or more other creatures dies, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. Potentially, I'm just worried about not having enough things to sacrifice, and that's why we use the ETB, LTB create tokens, right? However, the Opportunist is definitely an option for the deck if you want to sneak a few of that in there. However, we'll probably just play things from the grave and keep sacrificing, the Awakener or the Flesh Taker again, right? So that's Orzhov Sacrifice. There's a couple different ways you can take this, of course, like I mentioned, but really just for consistency's sake, this is probably what we're looking at. Into our number 2 deck, it is Dimir Zombies. Woof. So this comes into play where, as I mentioned, not always attacking with our 2/2s just to have them decay. It is fine, and just like the last deck, another good option is the Morbid Opportunist in this deck. I'll pull it up again. Whenever one or more other creatures dies, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. So I'll add it in here just so you guys see it. Again, we do want to make sure that we have enough zombies though, right? We probably don't need a ton of draw, and we could shoot ourselves in the foot. And now that's why I'm not including it in the decks. However, I do find it is relevant to mention because it's massive advantage. However, it can be too much advantage. In Limited, we're only playing with 40 cards. And let me tell you what, I've had this Opportunist pop off. Don't stack it. You know what I mean? Do not play 3 of these into the field and then think, oh, I'm going to draw cards on my turn, on their turn. You will mill yourself, right? So play this card with caution. Very high value, but it could come back to shoot you in the foot. Like I mentioned, we're just keeping it consistent here, right? This deck builds a bunch of zombies, and then we have our beloved Siege Zombie. Tap 3 untapped creatures you control. Each opponent loses 1 life, right? We're just going to be doing this a bunch. It doesn't tap the zombie, so if we have 6 creatures, we're doing it twice. If we have 9 creatures, we're doing it 3 times each turn, right? So we can really drain our opponent down with the Siege Zombie, and that's why we let those decays stack up, because not only do we get to tap them to deal all that damage, but eventually, we're going to have 10 2/2s in play. They're only going to have 3 defenders. Let's go smash in now for lethal, right? We also have the Organ Hoarder. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 3 of our library, 1 into our hand, the rest in the grave. It's great, right? Really, really good value here. And then, enters the battlefield through the Falcon, 2/2 with flying, create that 2/2. And then the Hobbling, leaving the battlefield. It's got Death Touch, which is cool, so it acts as passive removal as well. You've seen Eaten Alive, such a good card in the format. We have the Larder Zombie. Look at the top card of your library. You may put it into your graveyard, right? This is really good. Get those lands out of the way late game if you need. Also a very good defender, and we're tapping it with our other creatures, right? Which is cool. The Diagraph is an ETB, make a bunch of zombies, which is really cool. Yeah, that's the deck. Startle, just a little something on the side. You can throw whatever you want in there. And again, these are just like kind of base ideas, right? You're not always going to get each copy. Like you'll never say get 4 Eaten Alives, 4 Ladder Zombies, and 4 Siege Zombies, right? Like you're going to have to use this as a template and get as close as you can. Keep in mind, there's no rares, there's no mythics in here. There's no super bombs, which you will include into the decks as well, which will fill those spots that you're missing. So this is Dimir Zombies, number 2, going super wide, tapping the zombies for those effects, which is really cool, and then smashing in once you will get lethal. Whew. Last deck, you guys. This is it. Azorius Disturb, number 1. And this should be no surprise to anyone. The value within Limited is always magnified. Card advantage, so important. Disturb, much like Adventure, is giving us basic double advantage right out of the gate, right? You're playing a creature, it dies, you replay it from the grave, you did not have to draw that card, right? That is virtual card advantage from your grave. Great news. So this is why the deck is so amazing out of the get-go. We have the Shipwreck Sifters, a 1/2 for 2. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card, then discard a card, right? Discarding a disturbed card if you don't need to put a land into the grave. Whenever you discard a spirit card or a card with disturb, put a +1/+1 counter on the Sifter, right? And this is a non-legendary that you can stack. Woo-wee! So you can see why that is so good. We have other things like the Activist. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card, then discard a card. Plus, it itself has Disturbed, right? So really cool play lines here. The Graft Keeper, when it enters, mill 2 cards. Whenever you cast a spell from your graveyard, tap target creature you don't control. It's a 3/1 with flying on the opposing side. Really cool stuff here, right? We have the Castaway. When it dies, mill 3 cards with Disturbed, and then shuffling 3 cards from our graveyard into our library when it transforms, so we can keep that game going on and on and on. Really cool stuff here. Enchantments, artifact control within the Commando, and the Beggar within, just like so much Disturb value, right? So cool stuff. There's like the Unblinking Observer as well, that you could be casting mana through the Disturb to reduce the cost of things, but you don't really need it. I just included it in there for an idea in case you do see it. It does fit within the deck still, right? But definitely the Shipwreck Sifters, and then anything with Disturbed on top of it, you're gonna have a good time. Woo! You guys, we did it. We broke down the top 10, well, not the top 10, 10 of the limited, because you'll never be able to pull enough spells to do a single color, right? So we have to do all the dual colored decks. And from Gruel Werewolves in number 10, Izzet Spells number 9, Rakdos Vampires number 8, Golgari Sacrifice number 7, Simic Flashback number 6, Selesnya Coven number 5, Boros Aggro number 4, Orzhov Sacrifice number 3, Dimir Zombies number 2, and Azorius Disturb number 1. Not only did we talk about the decks and how they rank up, but we also ran you guys through all of the resources that I use, right? Deathsea's limited tier list, giving you basically everything you need. We also have the MTG Arena Assistant available for free to everybody within my Linktree link, right? That was my Linktree. Boom, it's like 4th link down, open it up, give it a download. And, that draft helper is what we're talking about. It's going to give you comments on each card as well as a rating. It will also help you build your deck. It is a must-have tool if you're new to Limited. Really recommend that. And then finally, Sam Black has the amazing Discord, also the YouTube channel. I'll have a link for that in the description. Go show Sam some love. Give him a hello good game. And they're going to break down each individual color as well as showcase some limited gameplay. If you want to learn more, this is definitely someone who knows what they're talking about. And then you can all look forward to Quick Draft October 1st through the 15th, Innistrad Midnight Hunt. So get ready. I hope you guys are prepared, maybe more so now than you were. Let me know in the comments if this helped. I'm really looking forward to doing more of this every set for you guys, right? So I want to do a farming guide for you as well, right? Get that draft guide out, get that farming guide out, and then just kill the original decks within the standard constructed stuff, right? So cheers. Make sure to like the video to help support. I really appreciate you hanging out with me today, and maybe check out some more of my content if you don't mind. And yeah, we'll see you soon in the next. If you absolutely loved it, maybe even become a Patreon. Cheers.